Thank you for being here and your patience. Thank you for being here today for a follow-up to our officer-involved shooting, which occurred earlier this week, Tuesday, May 26, at 256 Sherman Street. The body-worn camera footage we have disseminated to you is rather lengthy in time, but we wanted to afford you as much clarity and transparency as possible. To briefly recap the nature of the call, this was a domestic violence call involving a gun. The caller indicated that her husband had threatened to kill her, had taken her cell phone, had locked her in a room, and attempted to sodomize her. Obviously, a call of this nature is a top priority call, and it requires police to make contact with the victim as expeditiously as possible. Upon arrival, the officers were met at the side door of the house and led into the house. Once inside, the officers encountered the suspect, who was backed into the kitchen, highly agitated and clearly not complying with their verbal commands. It is important to note that at this time, the victim had not been located and her status was not known. The officers attempted to put the male subject, later identified as Mihaz Siddiqui, into custody so that an investigation into the victim's safety could occur. Siddiqui became combative and fully resisted attempts to handcuff him. During a physical altercation, Siddiqui managed to get his hand on a gun that he had concealed on his person. Siddiqui managed to fire off 8 rounds at the officers. The officers returned fire, firing 3 rounds. Officer Hurst, Mark Hurst, was hit multiple times. Buffalo Fire Department and AMR responded immediately, rendered aid, and transported both Officer Hurst and Siddiqui. The victim of domestic violence who had called the police was located in a room that she had locked herself in. She too was transported to the hospital for treatment. Officer Hurst continues to recover from his injuries at the hospital. Siddiqui continues to recover from his injuries at the hospital as well. Again, I want to reiterate, the Buffalo Police Department is so extremely grateful to the Buffalo Fire Department, AMR, and the truly amazing medical staff at ECMC. I'm able to take questions at this time.
Can you tell us how many times Siddiqui was shot?
I don't know. So one of the things we run into is HIPAA laws. So we're able to glean information because we're in communication with Officer Hurst. But in terms of Siddiqui, we don't have access, understandably, to his medical files.
Has he been arraigned at the hospital? It seemed like maybe that had happened.
He has been charged with attempted murder of the officers.
Obviously a very chaotic situation when you look at the body cam video. Has it been determined that the officer that was struck, were all the shots that he received from the gun of the suspect, or was there, in the chaos, was there any friendly fire?
So you're essentially asking if there's friendly fire, and I would say no. I think we have spent 2 days slowing down all of the video, watching it on large screens, and his injuries, Officer Hurst's injuries, are consistent with rounds being fired from the ground upward, to include a round in the ceiling. So I feel confident in saying that the rounds that struck Officer Hurst were from Siddiqui's gun.
We have heard that Siddiqui he was a part of the Buffalo Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community. He's a black belt. And, you know, we do see them wrestling. Do you think that played a role in him not being pinned down right away? Or?
I can't confirm whether or not he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu like yourself. I have heard that. What I will say is he clearly knew how to wrestle, and he clearly knew how to be in hands-on combat in close quarters. Whether that was just because he didn't want to be taken into custody or because he has elevated training, I don't know.
And where was the gun?
The best that we can tell from watching the video is it must have been, we believe it was in his waistband under his T-shirt that was hanging out over his pants.
Any indication, based on the investigation thus far, of kind of what triggered his agitation? Obviously, he's very agitated when Buffalo police arrive on scene, and it escalates from there. I mean, any indication of just kind of what sparked this all off? Because again, people we've spoken to in that community, very surprised because it seemed like the nicest guy kind of quote we've gotten from him.
I think that is textbook profile of a domestic violence abuser. Everybody else says they're the nicest guy, but in reality, that is frequently the profile of a domestic abuser. And I cannot say enough about the importance of not losing sight of the trauma that this woman has experienced. And I feel certain it was occurring long before Tuesday. And I think that the investigation as it moves forward will clearly unearth and bring forward more information for us. But it is imperative to note that this woman was truly traumatized, and this is a domestic violence situation.
Had she called the police before or sought any kind of help?
I honestly don't know, but I can only speak to the event at hand, and it clearly was very unsettling to listen to her 911 audio.
Can you describe that at all? Or-
It was true fear, it was true terror, and you're hearing someone who is absolutely helpless. And I would say that what we encountered supports her narrative.
Can you talk about the officers going in? It's very calm at first, and they seem to really be trying to calm him down. Can you talk about how they handled that?
Yeah, I think that, and our behavioral health team, so you're clear, they were on the call. But de-escalation is not an option in every scenario, obviously. And we had an obligation to locate this victim as soon as possible. That being said, I thought the officers entered the house, showed great restraint, clearly tried to coax the individual out of the house, talk to him. But at some point, you have to, it became physical, and he was clearly looking for and ready for a fight.
The BHD was there?
There was a BHT officer on scene, and when you have more time that you can actually look at the body-worn camera video, we know we didn't give you as much time as we would have liked, you will see that officer on scene.
And from your perspective, I mean, did officers miss the gun when they were trying to put handcuffs on him in the process, or was that just something that they would have gotten to had they had more time?
No, I think typically, if you can handcuff somebody and then you search them and you locate the gun, I find absolutely zero fault with what they did. And again, these situations are so chaotic and evolve so quickly. There were 4 large men there, and they could not get his right hand behind his back. And so, it gives you an idea of what officers face or potentially face every day and how quickly a scene can go south. We are very fortunate that we do not have a line of duty death.
Commissioner, you made mention shortly after the incident that there was the potential of warrants to seize other guns that Siddiqui might have had. Has there been anything that you've found or the department has found leading with those warrants?
Warrants were not served, but the IRPA was served, and there was a sizable number of firearms at a separate residence of his.
Can you give us any indication of how many we're talking about here?
I'm going to defer to the detectives on that down the road. I really want them to have ample opportunity to put together the criminal case. That's my priority, and so I don't want to misstate anything that could compromise the prosecution.
Was the weapon that he used in the shooting an illegal weapon, or are the other weapons that might have been seized illegal as well?
My understanding is he owned them lawfully.
Can you explain, we don't see Officer Hurst's body cam. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, so it's my understanding that his camera battery had died earlier in the day, and we're looking to figure out why, if it had not charged properly, where it was. So we don't, it's not that we withheld the footage, we don't have it. And obviously, we'll be looking into that. We good?
Just kind of more broadly, this is the fourth critical incident since March. And I'm wondering, you know, how are you working with the police officers? How are you dealing with this? I mean, this is unprecedented.
Well, I think when you have incidents like this, first off, you know, it's, there has to be a strong peer support program, which there is within the department. More than anything, the command staff needs to be engaged and showing that they have empathy for what's occurring and being present. But as someone who has really, in the last 10 years of my life, really felt and experienced the challenges around mental health and public safety, I'm a firm believer that in law enforcement, we're never doing enough for our people. I think the job takes an enormous toll, and it's why you see so many officers struggling with alcohol, suicide, and as an agency, regardless of what agency it is, we always have to do more. It is a very real issue in law enforcement, and so I think that there's a number of initiatives and efforts afoot here, but one of my goals, my personal goal, is to really ensure that we have a strong and robust wellness program for our employees.
Based on the incident Saturday and of course Tuesday, normally those would trigger AG investigations. Have you been told by the AG's office that they are looking into those specific incidents?
So I've had a learning curve as to the AG's office, and it's been interesting for me coming from out of state. So any fatal encounter involving a police officer, whether on duty or off duty, whether or not they have a gun, is investigated by the AG. Those two incidents did not involve a fatality, so they will go to the DA's office. Thank y'all.